See, there's natural earth underneath this hot slabs. You know? These things aren't naturally good for your back. The earth was made so that the grass and the soil would give with every step that you take. But here it is with these European colonization of America, which they stole from the so-called Native Americans, Seminole Indians, and Aztec Mexican Indians, who are the Israelites the Bible speaks of. They've coded this place to remind them of their dwellings in the Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, Russia. Because they're the ones that dwell in the clefts of the rock, who are also known as the proud, which the book of Obadiah is referring to, whose habitation is high. I mean, that speaks for itself. Wherever you so-called Caucasians dwell, you like to dwell in these high mountainous terrains, whether it be skyscrapers, or whether it be these industrial buildings. Wherever you dwell, whether it be these high rises, whether you're doing business or whether you're there to rest your head, it's all high, man. Like a mountain. That saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Because America's at a position right now, as far as military might, containing all these nuclear missiles, which these other heathen countries are obtaining, like Iran, the Iranians, which is why all eyes are in the Middle East right now, paying attention to WMDs, weapons of mass destruction. It's because all these other nations are bolstering up their nuclear capability. But as in the past, it was at a point where, during the times of World War II, if I'm not mistaken, well, even prevalent before then, as far as you so-called whites coming over here, bringing the so-called African Americans, so-called Negroes over here in cargo slave ships, and just rape, robbing, pillaging the earth, even to this land that the indigenous so-called Native Americans, Aztec Seminole Indians that were dwelling here, you were in a position where you felt that no one could come against you. And even after that war that popped off with America going against Japan regarding the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, okay, Fat Boy and Little Man, if I'm not mistaken, the names of those missiles, atomic missiles, it was at a point where every other country looked at America as high and mighty and fearful, because no one had the weaponry to try to stand up against this place. And at those times, with regards to the Federal Reserve, you know, this American dollar being the world currency, America was looked at as the beacon of light. And as far as you so-called Caucasians, you were looked at as the high and mighty of the earth. So you were put in a position where you could bolster and proudly state in your heart, meaning your mind, or even out loud to the masses of the people, who shall bring me down to the ground? Verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. So what is the animalistic emblem of this country? An eagle, a bald eagle. And the thing about the bald eagle is it's known as a proud creature. It's known as a proud fowl that flies up in the heavens, up in the skies, looking down on his prey. It has mighty capabilities as far as its aerial flight, and as far as the way it scoops down on it preys on its victims, as far as the low meaning animals. But the thing is, even with that animal, the eagle, you still have mightier animals besides them. And not just to keep it in the form of animals for the reference or the comparison, but looking at America, what do they consider themselves? Proud Americans. Red-blooded Americans. The U.S. Marines, proud. Okay? But not even just stating that they're proud, what is their animalistic emblem? It's the eagle. You look at the back of the quarter. What do they have? They have an eagle. Depending on what type of quarter you have, but originally known, we're just taking back to the dollar bill. The back of the dollar bill, the Great Seal, what do you have there? You have an eagle. So that in itself is stating America written symbolically inside of the scriptures. Because you're not going to find the word America. You're not going to find the word white man. You're not going to find the word Caucasian. What you are going to find is parables, dark sayings, written, inscripted inside of the scriptures, encrypted, so to speak, hidden, to where the only ones that will realize it is he that have an ear, let them hear, but mainly that the spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, the true power of heaven and earth, the living God and the only God, in the name of his son, is working with. Those are the ones that are going to be able to know those mysteries. Not to deviate from the main scripture, but just to prove that, this is the book of Amos chapter 3 verse 7. Surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets. And the way that's happening now is with the elders of Great Millstone. Those men have been blessed to be the pillars of the church, from learning from their elders before them, but continuing that flame and carrying that word and carrying that light to the four corners of the earth, so that more fruit and more of the elect can wake up, and that more brothers may teach in accordance to the doctrine that they're bringing out through the spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, because it is the truth. So therefore, the ones that will find out the mysteries of this Bible, those that have ears to hear, would be of the elect. Going back in the book of Obadiah, verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and thou set thy nest, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. So the way you so-called Caucasians set your nest amongst the stars with America would be your so-called NASA space programs. Okay? That's the way that you set your nest amongst the stars, with your satellites tracking the people. Okay, your so-called space stations, and even with your fake so-called moon landing, which never happened, which never took place. That was all a hoax. Just like the same hoax that you paint upon the people that the one the world even calls Jesus Christ is white, which that is a lie. All this society is built off of is nothing but lies, witchcraft, sorcery, deception, and wickedness. NASA being the National Aeronautics Space Administration, that's the way you set your nest amongst the stars, meaning your weaponry. So ever since that took place in the 70s, the Most High has been bringing you down to the ground, to the point where you haven't been high and mighty and proud to boast yourself as in times past. Dating back to the times when you came over here with the plantation era, where the so-called Negroes were kept in chains and shackles, to the point where if you even looked at a so-called white man in the eye, that was punishable onto whippings and lashes. Emmett Till, for an example, he so-called whistled at a white woman, and he was killed for that. But since then to this day, you haven't lived in that proud status. You haven't had that bolstering state. You haven't been doing so high and mighty as in the days before, in your glory days. And a prime example of that is his death. Good. So reading the second portion of the National Debt Clock in Wikipedia, the Free Encyclopedia, it states the second clock. In 2004, the original clock was moved from its location near 42nd Street. The building has since made way for One Bryant Park, an updated model, which can run backwards, was installed 1 block away on a Durst building at 1133 Avenue of the Americas, 6th Avenue. It is mounted on the side wall of the building, which faces West 44th Street. The new clock is outfitted with a dot matrix display of higher resolution than its predecessor, which emulates the customary 7 segments numeral patterns, allowing the numbers to be read more easily. In the midst of extensive media attention during the financial crisis beginning in 2007, some news reports mentioned the National Debt Clock, highlighting the fact that its display had run out of digits when the U.S. gross federal debt rose above $10 trillion on September 30th, 2008. And as you can see, this debt hasn't diminished. It's done nothing but raise, more and more increasingly. An overhaul or complete replacement, adding 2 more digits to the clock's display, is currently being planned. Similar projects. This is the portion, the last portion. The idea of conveying a message through a periodically updated clock found an earlier expression in the doomsday clock, pegging the numbers of the dead rising as in comparison to a doomsday clock, or what people might have considered, the countdown to the year 2000, or even to today with the countdown to 2012, December 21st, which isn't going to be the end of the world. The scriptures tell you that the earth abideth forever, Ecclesiastes, the 1st chapter. But the thing is, the fact that these numbers aren't showing good signs or positive signs regarding growth domestic product, GDP. The fact that these numbers are going up shows you nothing but decline for this country. Henceforth, Lord willing, we'll be able to go into the next article and bring out some scriptures. So I'll read this again. The idea of conveying a message through a periodically updated clock found an earlier expression in the doomsday clock. However, the innovation of the national dead clock was to feature a constantly running counter. So the purpose of this clock was intended to state that, opposite to the doomsday clock, America is actually doing better. But, as you can see, through the spirit of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, that is not the case. It has since inspired similar projects elsewhere, both in the United States and further afield. Various tracking counters of national debt are also kept online, which you can look also when you go into any type of search engine online and type in national debt or U.S. national debt. You'll see for yourself these same numbers, but more descriptive. It further breaks down the type of economy that's revolving around this country. Not even just this country, but it even shows you portions of all these other countries. Like stated, if you go online and to any search engine and check out or type in national debt clock. The national debt clock has also been credited as the inspiration behind other running totalizers. For example, an AMD campaign employing an electronic billboard instead of a debt. It tracked the supposed additional cost of using a rival chip. So that's the pertinent information regarding that. So you can have some more history regarding what you're looking at. Now, to go into the scriptures to show you regarding off of just those figures alone, you can see that America isn't doing too tough, and that this place isn't doing too hot. To give, brothers and you few sisters that may be in the faith, following after brothers, in sincerity and truth, this is further confirmation to lift up your spirits, even though you may not see the destruction as a whole happening, as far as the cannibalism, the diseases, the race riots. Just the fact that these numbers keep increasing are further proof to let you know that America is in decline. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 47, verse 1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. The virgin daughter of Babylon is referring to America, another code name within the scriptures. This place being a virgin daughter of the ancient kingdom Babylon, because it's following after the same customs and same ideologies and deities that were worshipped in ancient Babylon. Okay. And also, when you look at the fact that the word Babylon is there, going into the Hebrew, because the Holy Bible was written in the Hebrew and then translated later into the Greek and Latin in these various languages that we had to today. That word Babylon in Isaiah 47:1 is Babel, meaning confusion.